So I want to reiterate to the public and to the council, the process that I'm recommending that I explain for residents to voice their concerns about items outside the agenda. It is efficient because the resident voted us in position to be the voice for them and to also assist them with resolving conflict and problems that they have concerns with. It will keep an individual freedom of speech because citizen comments and public hearing will remain on the agenda. And any one of the council representatives of the district can add or the three at-large representative can add that resident concern or complaint to the agenda. And I also want to talk about the difference. What we have right now, what happened tonight, me being what they say is just a constructive criticism, just untruths just constantly being said because an item that was put on the agenda as a citizen petition. That's one thing. But the charter, let me make that clear. The charter, the charter, that the citizen charter, which allows initiatives and referendums that allows an individual to submit or remove legislative proposals. That we cannot touch. That's the citizen petition that was used when they went out and got the marijuana ordinance passed. That the people, that's just not 5, 6, or 7. The majority of the people wanted that. And the citizen petition we currently have at every council meeting, if warrant for it, is something that we put in place. And I'm just saying, we cannot continue to function as a city. And I'm open to recommendations, but the process must change. Councilmember Boyd. Sir, you out of order, and that's your first warning. Please take a seat. Sir, that is your second warning. Please take a seat. Community engagement is good. We should be out in the community. We should go out in the community. We should attend different events, different places. That's community engagement. But I still don't believe that a council chamber should be a war ground. And it's easy to take constructive criticism if you've never been the one attacked. It's either Councilmember Segarra, me, Mr. Cagle, or Councilmember Alvarez. So easy said than done until you under the fire. Councilmember Segarra.
Thank you, Mayor. And I just want to say I don't think anybody up here is trying to take away the citizens' right to speak. And I think where this is coming from, and everybody understands, is the things that happen lately, situations, the disrespect, and all that. I don't mind communicating with anybody, and I think, I'm probably one of the open guys up here. Anybody can talk to me. And for the most part, I think everybody's always respectful. But as somebody said, it's a two-way streak. I know a lot of times people disrespect you, and then they expect you to be there for them when they want to communicate. And that's not how it works. I mean, so my thing is, I think that we should look at changing it a little bit. And because, if we have this all the time, and today we had 3 petitions, and a lot of times those are things that this council is not even discussing. We discussed, that was a good example today, firearms. And now we're all being recalled for something that we're not even discussing because it was brought up by a citizen's petition. And so same thing like last week. Last week that was put on there, and several people spoke behind that, which we weren't even discussing, got into arguments, and then the person that brought that and put that in the petition left. And so they spoke, left.
Sir, officer, take a 5-minute break. He's interrupting. Please take him and move him outside. Thank you.
As I say,
it's a 5-minute break. 5-minute breaks, please. Chief Lopez, y'all please take him outside. Councilmember Sagara, we on the break. Please don't engage. Please take him outside.
You guys can say facts. Nobody else can say a fact. It's amazing how you can say fact and nobody else can say a fact.
We're back
I'm
in
just pointing
session.
out a fact. That's all.
We're back, Mr. Kager. Officers, I done asked 3 times.
Can you leave? Anyway, as I was saying before I got interrupted, no, we're back in session.
Councilmember Sagara, do not engage. Do not engage.
And so as I was saying, he left and the discussion
Councilman
continued.
Sagara, we need to take a 5-minute break.
Good evening, Council. I'd like to stand here and say that I am in support of the Safer Streets for All grant. It is something that we need to be talking about more. From what I understand, as an entire council, where the council members need to be discussing it and weighing in on it in order for us to have the best opportunities to be granted this amount in order to make our sidewalks and our streets safer all the way throughout the city, which is something we know we are in desperate need of. And anytime there's a lack of funding, whenever we can get grants to cover that difference, make sure that we're making our city a better place for everyone, truly, then that's what we need to do. I also still am not seeing any information about the grant attached to the agenda or the agenda packet each week. So I think if we're going to have more citizens come up and speak about it, they really need to know what it is they're talking about. I appreciate that the city has recently opened up the Arts and Activity Center as a warming center on 3 different nights. I don't think that this is a long-term feasible location for the city. When we look at the comprehensive plan, when we look at what the homeless plan was, it was to move our unhoused population out of the downtown area so we can draw more residents to downtown at night to do shopping, to go to events, and stuff like that. The longer that facility is used, and you can see it already, because when I needed to go down and hand out more blankets and hats and hand warmers and food, a lot of the unhoused neighbors are now living and staying around the Arts and Activity Center and in those blocks immediately around it, which is going into that downtown area. My concern is the number of those people within that population who are getting arrested for trespassing, even though they feel like they have no choice now. Either the shelter is there or the warming center is there. When it was off at other locations, even the Moss Rose Community Center, that's away from downtown, it's out of the way, it's around the corner, and there's a level of safety there for those people who are utilizing that service also. I have a very important question to wrap up with, and that is who put this agenda item on here to remove citizens' petitions from the city council meetings? It wasn't addressed at the last workshop last week. It isn't anything I saw a motion of direction for. So that means either the mayor, the city manager put it on there on their own, or a minimum of 2 council members emailed the mayor and city manager saying they wanted it on the agenda. Those are the only ways for it to be put there. And I would love to know who it is that is now wanting to go another step further in quieting the citizens and taking away our speech. There's accusations being thrown around by council members, by city managers. The mayor is correct. Nobody can help the way somebody perceives something. Doesn't mean you go to the newspaper with it when someone tells you that that's their perception. For example, I perceive it that I was threatened, and so was everyone else. When the mayor put in the paper, she would give everyone a first warning at every meeting, so there was no confusion when the police were asked to escort a person out. or when the mayor said that she was going to add a whole lot of extra police officer to keep an eye on the citizens, which just does nothing but tell the public and potential investors our mayor doesn't even trust our citizens and doesn't even feel she's safe. Why would they come here? I want to know who's responsible for this so we know who to not vote for.
Your time is up. And I just want to make some corrections on that. The police officers are here for the safety of not just the council, but also the residents and also the staff. There have been several council members have concerns about the behavior, especially our last council meeting. Something that started within this chamber led to an altercation outside this chamber. That's your first warning. Do not interrupt this meeting. That's your first warning. Second, the conversation about the mayor and the paper making threats. Why do I need to make a threat to anyone? I was voted in by the people to be the mayor of this city. I have a council that does an extraordinary job. The mayor just presides over the meeting. The council makes the decision, 4-3 or 5 or however they want to vote. That goes into play. So I'm getting more power than what I deserve because I don't have that authority. That is your second warning. That's your second warning because you are interrupting the meeting. Mr. Jonathan O'Craig, good afternoon, sir. You have 4 minutes.
Honorable Mayor, City Council, and City Manager, I stand before you appalled that this subject is again on your agenda. During my time of service to our city, state law as it regards the carry of firearms by citizens of this state on public property allow for the option to carry, open carry lawfully. Subsequent to the change of this law, the city took it upon itself to ban the lawful carry of firearms in either concealed carry or open carry configuration. All right. I took it upon myself to bring that item back up for discussion. And subsequently, the Killeen City Council amended its policy to be amenable to state law. Subsequent to that, a member of the council brought this very subject back to the council for workshop, where the wisdom of the council at that time was to amend the city policy to come in line with state law. And what is your problem? You cannot come in line with state law. We have something down at the city. The city is down in the Third Court of Appeals right now because we tried to change state law at the municipal level. How crazy could that be? And coming from a historian and a political science major, that's nuts. Listen closely. Are you familiar with the following people or organizations? Pol Pot, Mao Zedong, Fidel Castro, Kim Jong-un, Adolf Hitler, the KKK, the first American terrorist organization formed by the Democratic Party, Benito Mussolini, and the Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini. All of these people, except for the little man running around with all of the medals on with the funny hat, those people too. They all had one thing in common. They were able to kill millions of people because of one thing. The general populace was stripped of their right to keep and bear arms. Again, imagine, now, me being black all my life, imagine after 1865, if I was a former slave, I had the privilege to carry a gun. I don't think the KKK would have stood a chance. So how much further, me as a black man, being black all my life, with this thing strapped on my back, we would have been further down the road had we had it. But because of the Supreme Court and Justice Taney, in a case where a Army major took his slave out into the territories, he said it was, not only did he say that he didn't have a right, but he said, you know what? Black people cannot carry guns. What is wrong with y'all? And I'm looking, the majority of you are people of color. And yet we still have this stuff coming up here. But I tell you what, Mr. Alvarez, Mr. Segura, and whoever else it was, I recalled you. Guess what? I'm doing it again. I'm doing it again. I'm doing it again. And you know what? I'm going to add Mr. Boyd, Mr. Adams, Ms. Cobbs, Mrs. Gonzalez, and I promise you, Mr. Alvarez, I will get more than 19 signatures this time. You know what?
Mayor,
I'm going to get that. Thank you for your time.
Dr. Cochran. Good afternoon, sir.
Before I start, can you answer the question the young lady had about who's responsible for the petition being on tonight's
It's
agenda?
going to be on the presentation, you will know. You still have your 4 minutes to get started, sir.
Tonight, I'm speaking on RS 23-193, removal of citizen petition section from the city council agendas. Good citizens of Killeen, history will be made tonight. Changes to the city charter will be approved. I know it will be approved because you're cowards. The city attorney is removing the citizens' petitions from council agendas, council meetings, and governing standards that are located within the Killeen documents. Constituents will lose their ability to speak on any given topic of their choosing and not be able to speak or highlight of any issue that is personally important to them. In the past, citizens' petitions were used to voice concern in areas that the council may not be aware of. For example, concerns over the homeless population. For example, brown water coming out of homes that are constantly broken or have broken pipes that the city manages. For example, requests for people to the city council not to purchase dilapidated buildings or properties which they went and moved forward with. For example, the constant disinformation of building some imaginary grocery store in the northern district. My personal favorite, the last one, is personal request for the city council to review how many vehicle washing stations are needed within a 7-mile radius of the city limits. For the record, 47 is how many we have, and they're still being built. While a person is speaking, the mayor and the city manager, for some reason, cannot politely listen to that person for 4 minutes. It surprises me. Instead, the city council actively blocks meaningful efforts to resolve many of these constituent problems and challenges by interrupting them and a lack of showing sympathy for that residents' concerns. I've personally witnessed the council use allocated time and citizens' petitions portion while that person's speaking to interrupt them or intimidate that speaker so they go off course and don't know really what they're talking about because you won't listen. To me, the city attorney has taken precious time away from the city council, which it now uses to look at their phones and fend off public accountability. To speed up their agenda process, the mayor and the city manager have previously said that the elimination of 4 minutes by this council should help move along the agenda. Tonight, these historic public chambers will approve a violation of the U.S. Constitution. The so-called leaders of Killeen will eliminate free speech without a constituent's vote, approval, or any kind of recognition. The founding fathers of the U.S. Constitution will be disgusted by the council's act to remove citizens' petitions and the free speech that goes along with it. My question to you is, how long are the residents going to align with this low-level government issues when the council takes away their time of free speech? Let's look at the council. It's comprised of former military service members who tonight will take part in the illegal removal of free speech, as well as the citizens' petitions. I must remind these takers of freedom that in 5 months, voters will go to the polls and have the opportunity to remove these cowards and these shameful men from office. Democracy dies when Killeen's leadership becomes too powerful, especially when they fail to incorporate a checks and balances approach in the city management. I have witnessed the mayor use her gavel to eliminate free speech and interrupt someone when they're speaking. Thanks for not doing it to me. She personally disagrees with them and tries to discourage them from sharing their personal views. I know that for certain tonight, all of us will be witness to the downfall of democracy and the guarantee removal of citizens' petitions and their voices. Thank you.
Thank you for your kind words. Mayor Pro Tem.
Good evening, Mayor and our constituents. Every day, I get a call or I get a comment or someone says, Mrs. Cobb, did you know? And I say, do I know what? Silence always works. Work will win when winning won't. Just because I don't say a word, I'm not a coward. Just because you don't see me or I'm not talking to you does not mean that I'm not doing the work that needs to be done. I work with fine individuals up here. To say that we are not listening, don't you get it? The more I listen, the more that I can do. We don't have time to run and comment on everything, but I have time to work. And that's what I do. I work. Is that the buzzer for me? I'm always too long.
Councilmember Cigar.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to go on record as saying that we are not discussing removing firearms, as that last speaker kind of mentioned. That's something that is the benefit of putting a citizen's petition. And so, he put that on there. And by no means, I don't think anybody here was ever discussing that. So, and I think a lot of times that's a confusion that happens out there with people, is that, things are put on there. I know last week we had that big discussion and it wasn't anything that the city council was discussing, but yet a lot of people felt the need to speak on it. And so I just want to go on record as clearing that, making it clear that at no time is there have been a discussion of removing firearms from here. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, and thank you, Councilmember Sagara. But I just want to get some clarification on something. There is a difference between the charter citizen petition and the council meeting citizen petition. There's a big difference between the two. And later on, you will understand that difference. So you're not taking away from the Constitution or taking away somebody's freedom of speech, because the citizen petition that's on the agenda, it was put on by the council in 1995. It's not a state law. So I just want the ones that's at home that are listening and in the audience, there is a difference, and it will be discussed later.